because the way you were dressed and the way you looked didn't like reflect to what I was hearing, and
that's why I dressed like that. I was like, you know, I'm just gonna like put my hoodie up, and I'm just gonna recite the Quran, because it takes people back a bit, you know, because then like I'm not expecting a person dressing like this who's like a white person to be doing a video like that.
The way you looked reminded me of back in the day when I was into like Linkin Park and stuff like that.
But as a child, I didn't really believe in it that much. And what I found out later on, looking back, is I never ever, like as a child, you don't sit there and critically think about these things, but I never prayed to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I never, even though I'm told this and I'm singing songs about it, I never believed that Jesus is the Son of God. Like to me, I didn't think about it, but it didn't ever make like sense to me. My friend and I was like, we were now and then like smoking weed, and we lived in a Somalian area, and obviously like Somalian, a lot of them are Muslims, and one of the guys who like worked for these drug dealers was like a white guy, and for some reason like my friends started having this Islamic conversation with the guy who was selling us weed, and he was like, well, you know, there's like a mosque like right there, just like down the road, it's over there, if you want to become Muslim, go. And so he directed us to the mosque.
No, the guy selling weed. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to another episode of Rerouted, and today I've got Mark. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, bro?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing really good.
I'm really excited to get you down because I remember I was, you know, when you're just searching YouTube and on your recommended, I got this little video of this think revert. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm a revert and I think. Put them together, I'll click that, and it was you reciting Quran, and I was really took back. It was beautiful because the way you were dressed and the way you looked didn't like reflect to what I was hearing, and
that's why I dressed like that. I was like, you know, I'm just gonna like put my hoodie up, and I'm just gonna recite the Quran, because it takes people back a bit, you know, because then like I'm not expecting a person dressing like this who's like a white person to be doing a video like that.
The way you looked reminded me of back in the day when I was into like Linkin Park and stuff like that. but basically, I was just really took back because, mashallah, your the melody, the beautification of it is really good, mashallah. And I was really like, pronunciation was really good, but when I watched it, I didn't know that you were like a established Muslim, like 11 years. I thought you were quite a new Muslim, and I was like, wow, mashallah, and it just stayed in my head. And then I started seeing your stuff on TikTok as well. So yeah, that's how I found out about you, and that's why I was like, right, I need to get in contact with him. It'd be wicked to bring you down.
I actually took like you already know, like I took all that recitation down.
Why because it's so good.
Because at the time, like I thought it was good, you know, and
you've learnt more.
Actually, so alhamdulillah, like I did that because I did say when I did it, I like, listen, I learned this myself. I didn't have a teacher, and I'm gonna make mistakes. Like I'm trying, you know. That's the kind of point of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get a message across, but I am just trying, and hopefully I'll inspire some people, you know. But it then actually pushed me to I didn't know any rules of tajweed. Like I knew the letters, I knew how to pronounce them. Okay, I didn't know any rules of tajweed. And then I asked a friend who I used to work with, who was actually a tajweed teacher. I was like, hey, you remember you told me ages ago you'd teach me. Like I'm interested now.
Cool.
And then then he got me a book, and I started realizing like, oh, that I actually don't know a lot about this, and actually like I have made some mistakes, but also I can do better than this in terms of my. You know, my voice is the way it is, but in terms of my tajweed and my pronunciation, it would be much better if I was to just take some more time and dedicate, you know, for the sake of Allah, to study this topic, and then inshallah, like I can always redo stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. And then if I have teachers, I can run it before I upload it. I can be like, how's this? You know, is there any major mistakes? Is there anything I could have improved on?
I think I think you should put at least a few up, and the reason being is because it really stood out because nothing's perfect, and what you were showing was your journey of learning the Quran, and other people are going to be in like going through that same thing, and they might see where you are in the journey and where they are, and go, oh wow, this guy's like, I could, you know, like, this sounds good, and he's being able to do it. It might not be perfect, but I'm guessing in the comments you got like people that know Arabic, like, going, brother, it's not. You didn't get that.
It was all support, mashallah.
Oh,
like,
mashallah.
even one guy,
Awesome.
I can't remember his name. May Allah bless him. Like,
Yeah.
I hope he watches this. Like, I'm personally thanking him. He wrote like, listen, you know, in a sincere way, you know, this here should be like this. And I didn't really understand what he was saying. But he went through like everything, and he was like, this should be like this should be like this should be like this. But it's really good, you know, keep going.
That's really cool.
That inspired me. But I guess I guess at some point, because I've taken a good time out, I do want to continue with my YouTube channel, but I've taken time out to kind of like maybe learn a bit more, you know.
Yeah, okay.
And my idea is that I'm gonna re-upload them, but I'm gonna go through them myself. And I'm going to be like, so here I pronounce this like this.
Okay, cool.
Now 6 months or a year down the line, that's not how I would pronounce it. I'll pronounce it like this. And maybe there's a little bit of a reason why, because these letters go together this way, and you should maybe alter the way you pronounce them because of this particular rule. So I guess that was like my idea, but it benefited me, even though I've taken them down, it benefited me because it kind of pushed me, like, you should learn more about this, you know, because otherwise I maybe would have just hit a point where I'm like, I'm all right, I don't need to know more.
I think that's a really good subject to talk about, actually. But before we do, I think it would be cool to get to know you a bit more. The audience are going, cool, this guy recited the Quran on YouTube. But tell me a bit about your journey, bro. So you've been a Muslim 11 years?
Yeah, 11. I became Muslim in 2010. In January 2010.
MashaAllah.
So yeah, like maybe even nearly 12 years.
Oh, MashaAllah.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your background. Like like where you're from, what was your belief, and yeah, tell us a bit about that.
So basically, like I was actually born in Zimbabwe. So my family heritage is British. You know, all my family, to my knowledge anyway, are British. But in the last 100 or so years, like various people moved. So my grandparents, like they lived in Zimbabwe, they had children. My parents met and I was born in Zimbabwe. So I grew up there. And my parents split up when I was like, before I can remember, you know. And alhamdulillah, I lived with my mom, and she's like a amazing person. Like she brought me up so well, you know, like, and we got on really well with each other. And she's a Christian. So she brought me up as a Christian.
Oh, really?
Like she took me to church, you know, and she wasn't a Catholic, although some of my family is Catholic, but I don't know what kind of box you would put her in, you know, but she's like a very good, mashallah, you know, humble person, and she brought me up well, and she used to take me to church. So up until kind of when I moved to UK, I was brought up in the church, going to Sunday school, you know, believing in this. But as a child, I didn't really believe in it that much. And what I found out later on, looking back, is I never ever, like, as a child, you don't sit there and critically think about these things, but I never prayed to Jesus. Yeah. And I never, even though I'm told this and I'm singing songs about it, I never believed that Jesus is the Son of God. Like, to me, I didn't think about it, but it didn't ever make like sense to me. So I didn't really have like true belief, but definitely when there was times when I was scared or really afraid or really upset or whatever, I would pray to God. Yeah. And I remember doing that. And I remember saying like, and I took it upon myself, like, I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer before I go to bed. But without thinking about it, I never prayed to Jesus. I never said, oh, you know, astaghfirullah, like, oh, Jesus, please save me, please help me.
I think that's it's the like natural order of things. I was like, my family are atheist / agnostic, but they sent me to Sunday school, not for Sunday, it was like a summer Christian school, like Sunday school, but all throughout summer day, so she didn't have to deal with me. It was almost like free daycare sort of thing. But like there was a phase I went through, I was getting into this and I was liking the stories, but I knew that Jesus was meant to be the Son of God, and whatever that means, but I never thought to pray. You have to pray to Jesus, and when I thought about is there someone out there watch me, I never thought it'd be a man. So, and I think it's the fitra. We know this already in our heart. So, you know, it's and a lot of like a lot of English people that call themselves Christian, they might believe in God and so on, but they're not really into Christianity, like going to church all the time. They'll be shocked to hear that they believe that Christians believe Jesus is God. They'll go, no, Son of God. It happens all the time when doing dawah. No, Son of God. Yeah, like that, but they don't. They believe it's
even that. I didn't believe that. Being brought up in church and being brought up in Sunday school, I don't know why, but that part just never went like into my heart. You know, just never took that on board.
Were you like? So you're saying you kind of believe it, but you didn't. But so have you always believed in God?
No.
Okay. Tell me about that.
One thing that I do also remember is like I've been to quite a few different churches. So I've been to like Catholic churches where they're all eating the flesh and drinking the blood and smoke going around and all that.
Sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah, and I've subhanAllah, when I moved to England, my mom was searching for a church, and she took me to one church where they did that like speaking in tongues thing. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen.
Man.
What?
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that, and
it's like the two opposite ends, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, 12 years old, and I'm just like, she never took me back there. Maybe we went once or twice, but I saw that, but never in my life when I went to church did I ever like the feeling, and I don't know why. Because they're obviously very welcoming, accepting, but something about the aura of it with me, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like the hymns and the singing and forcing you to sing and all this kind of stuff. Like, and the guy on the cross, who's like, all of that they have like this huge statue of this guy who's being crucified and things, like I didn't feel that, I wasn't really about it. So when I moved to UK with my mom, I then went to school, in England, and that's when you very quickly realize when you go to school here, it's like, listen, you go to RE, and what they'll teach you there is about like what people believe, like people's wacky beliefs, like these people believe this, and they believe like, and they start to teach you all these various things, and you're just like, this is all crazy. And I even had like a Muslim RE teacher. You could tell like he was trying to put Islam to you, but I never paid it. I didn't have a clue about Islam. Like I didn't listen to any of that, because then you'd go from that. The next class would be science, and they'd be like, anyway, so let's tell you how the world really works. Let's talk about like evolution and how we got here in the Big Bang, and then I started coming across people like Ricky Gervais and who's that, Richard Dawkins, is it, and people like that, and I came across that, and I'm just like, and the school is pushing you towards that. So you then start to have this feeling, or I start to have this feeling like it's definitely not Christianity,
So you became a new atheist.
Yeah, I became an atheist because it's like, listen, it's very clear from the way the world is being shown to me that religion is for people with blind faith who are just, religion is just there to control, the zombies, not the people who have a mind. And it's just because you're afraid of dying, so you just have to have like something to believe in, because you don't want to accept the true reality that we're just here without a purpose. We're just going to go in the ground, and that's going to be the end of us, So that's kind of like how I felt. And I felt like, intellectually superior because of that. But also,
same, yeah.
I do also remember coming across, like having a conversation with my mom, where I told her like I'm leaving Christianity.
Oh wow, how did that go?
Like she was upset. Me and my mom have never had an argument, so it wasn't. But I remember just saying to her like, what I'm seeing here is that you don't have the answers that for the questions I have. And if I'm gonna follow Jesus, peace be upon him, like I want to follow the true message of Jesus. And if you just do a bit, with all due respect, like my family is Christian, but from my perspective, if you just do a bit of research into Christianity, like you start to find things where it's like, I don't feel comfortable about like the whole preservation of the Bible, the whole image of this Jesus being this white man, peace be upon him, and like the Bible is in English. You don't even know who wrote the Bible, and also it didn't, from my perspective, I'm not like a scholar or anything, but I don't see that your religion is even compatible with normal science. So all of that, like, I remember telling her, like, I can't do this. I'm leaving this religion. I'm going to become, like, I'm going to believe that God doesn't exist. And that was my religion from then on.
How was your mum upset? Did you get any, like she didn't disown you or anything like that? Like,
no, at that point, she didn't disown me. She didn't even scold me.
Okay.
I think that she was upset, and she probably just felt like she should pray for me, you know?
Yeah.
But I've never really asked her, to be honest. But I was going through like a really difficult time in my life.
Yeah.
And this was just part of that. So I think maybe she also felt like she didn't want to be too pushy.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes, you know, even with your own children, you may feel like if I just force this on them, that won't do any good. So if I let them go their own way and I pray and I try to advise them, maybe they'll come back. So maybe she felt like that, but I don't really know.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. How long were you an atheist for?
So it must have been from let's say the age of 14 to 19, something like that.
Okay, how's life as an atheist?
Not good.
No?
I did not. My life like went like down a very dark like kind of path in terms of like, I guess, like my mental health.
Okay.
Because like the more and more I started to accept this worldview and adopt this like godless worldview, and the more I started to accept that really, like, from this perspective, from my new world perspective of science is the only truth, you know, what we can prove is the only truth, and there's no truth outside of a scientific test. You know, so if we can't test it, it's not true. And that's kind of how I felt. But then, because now I feel like basically I'm just an animal. Like, I'm a human, you know, I can make decisions. I'm different from an animal, but I mean, in reality, I am just an animal, right? We just evolved from these creatures, and the truth is we're not really any different from them, you know. And my life lost all meaning and purpose, because your life then becomes, or my life then become like, so if this is the one life that I have to live and there is no purpose, I guess, what is my purpose now? I have to try and find one. Like, I need something to do. Because I remember speaking with my friends and like with my family and being like, you guys are all just living this life and you're not even questioning it. You're not even questioning like, why are we here? You know? And I remember like being like, I feel like I'm the only person who's actually sat here questioning, what is my purpose of existing here? So I'm searching for my purpose, and then I look at this atheist worldview, and it's like, well, your purpose is this pursuit of happiness. You know, follow your desires, maximize your pleasure, and minimize your pain. You know, and basically, you then have to think about, okay, so if pleasure is the thing that makes you happy, what are those things? Like, how do I go about doing that? And then you find like, well, pursuing money will make you rich. That'll make you have a big house, make you have a nice car. You can have beautiful women. You can have parties. You can get drunk. You can take drugs. All these things are like what's pushed on us now. It's just freedom, you know, do whatever you want. Freedom. Follow your desires, you know? And I guess I started like going down that route. But I started, the more and more I started following like I started following these people like a sheep, because I see people going out and partying, and I think, well, they seem happy, they seem like they're having a great time, like maybe I should go do that. So I started going and doing that, and then I would then wake up the next morning and realize like, that's not for me, you know, that's not made me happy. And this endless pursuit of money, to just go out and get a job or go and become a criminal or whatever and steal or whatever route you go to make money. What's it all for in the end if I just die the next day?
So for me, I was an atheist as well, and you accept there's like no God, and then there's like kind of a process of philosophical thinking that happens, and then you come to the conclusion that nothing really has meaning. The people's like idea of what honor is, or morality, or and so on, like, it's all just made up. It's in your head. You think that, and that's fine if you think that, but I don't have to respect it. So but I went down a route then if there's no point to life, let's make some point then, shall we? So
what was the point then?
Yeah, exactly. And I just went and just did things that I thought were fun. I was proper carefree because of that. I just didn't care about anything. Like I was nice to people and stuff, but I didn't care about consequences or anything, because I was quite and I'm quite ADHD, so I was like, the wild one. But I knew that the way we live now in this society, the way we live, it's just something, it doesn't rub. It's not like we're not meant to be living like this. And that was a feeling that I had, and that was my pursuit of how we're meant to live. And it was, my mind was like, well, evolutionary, we're meant to be living maybe in like tribal cultures. That's why, it went down that route. But what, for you, so from this kind of nihilistic atheist, where does Islam come in? How did that work?
Well, I guess I couldn't get away from the fact that, like, as much as I called it blind faith, like whenever stuff really went bad, or like someone who you care about's in hospital, or anything that's out of your control, I would always return to praying to God.
Oh wow!
Even though I didn't believe in God, even though I was like, I don't believe in God.
You're calling out to something.
Yeah, and with my life having no purpose, like it's something that, if I speak with an atheist, and a lot of time they'll come and try and put you on the back foot about Islam, and I'll just generally say, like, I'm happy to talk about Islam with you, and answer any questions that you've got the best I can with my knowledge, but I'd like to ask you some questions first to kind of like get where you're coming from, so I understand your perspective. And then I don't think atheists really expect to, like, as soon as you start questioning morals and right and wrong and purpose of life and what's going to happen after we die, why are we here? Why shouldn't I steal? Why shouldn't I do this? Because all of that depends on you actually caring about it. So if you tell me, oh, don't steal because, you're harming somebody else. What if I just say I don't care? I'm harming it's benefiting me.
Yeah.
I know I'm smart enough not to get caught.
How
does that work? Because you see in history, people have decided that they don't care. And they've gone around and they've slaughtered millions of people, and they've done whatever they wanted and no one could stop them.
Yeah.
So your morals and that's wrong, you shouldn't do that. I reckon this. They don't care about that.
Yeah. They have a pre idea that that liberalism as an ideology and a moral system is just naturally correct, where you can do what you want as long as you don't harm anyone else, not realizing that they've been taught that as a kid. And this is a man-made ideology, and you think and they're using that as a moral base when it's just been made up. Like, if someone made it up, then it doesn't mean it's true. When
you start to question it, that's when, like, all of a sudden, maybe they've not even questioned that themselves, because I know that I didn't when I was an atheist, and I had the same questions, because I used to have this problem. The thing that made me most uncomfortable was, one, I don't have a purpose in life. I'm not searching for a purpose. I've accepted that that's what it is, but also, like, I really don't like the way, like I grew up in a country where the president was like a dictator, and because of him a lot of bad stuff happened. Now, let's say hypothetically, like, this guy just dies in his sleep. Like, so he just did whatever he wanted. People died, people were, tortured, whatever. A lot of bad stuff happened because of him, and then he just peacefully dies in his sleep. Like, how am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to deal with that as an atheist? Like, how am I supposed to feel about that? I can't feel positive in any way. No matter how I rationalize it, I can't feel positive. So that would make me more and more depressed, because I used to think, well, I don't want to go and slave for money, because money's going to make me happy from this new, I could do whatever I want then. But then I have to, in a way, like, if I don't want to slave in a job, the easiest route is to do stuff that you shouldn't do. But naturally, like, that's not me. So how do I get happy? How do I find happiness? Because I definitely don't want to go and slave away in a job. Because people used to tell me, like my mom, she's like, you need to go to university. And I'm like, why? She's like, so that you can get a good job. And I'm like, why? She's like, so that you can have money. And I'm like, why? So you can have a nice house. I'm like, I don't care about a nice house. Oh, so that you can survive, but I don't really care about surviving. Like, this world means nothing to me anyways. There's no point in even being here.
Wow, so it got that deep, did it, for you?
Yeah, like I dropped out of like college, and like I just stopped going. I was like, I don't want to do any of this. I don't see any purpose in it, and just got like more and more and more depressed. And then basically, my parents forced me to like come to do like a university course in Manchester, because I had a family member in Manchester who was doing something there. It was to do with gaming, like programming and stuff like that, because I was into that. Like I kind of just drowned my sorrows in gaming for a long time.
Yeah, because we were talking beforehand about, because I do gaming, and I did like a gaming channel and stuff. And you're right, it's like the escape. It's like you know the saying where the ostrich puts their head in the sand. That's what gaming is. You have a hard day, you just put your head in this magical world for the evening, and then go to bed and wake up for that horrible day again.
The amount of time like I put into gaming is shocking. Like it's really bad, you know. And alhamdulillah, like there's benefits to it. It's a nice pastime. Like I still do it now, you know, but I really have to have a reality check about how much time I've spent, because you can waste. Like I used to spend like, I used to wake up like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would go bed like 2 o'clock the next day. And I used to play this online game, and with my mate who was in a similar situation. And in that online game, the day and night cycle is the same as real life. So we would go from being daytime, and then we'd be running around, and it'd be like, it's nighttime. It's like, yo, it's light again. It's like we've been playing this game for like, I play this game for like 12, 15, 18, 20 hours straight. And that's because I'm so depressed, that's the only thing that makes me happy. Yeah,
exactly. And when the point of life in your head is happiness, then you're just going to do that thing that makes you happy.
But you
suck yourself into this weird world.
But you find that you're in this constant pursuit, because even if it's like in a video game, or even if it's in real life, you could be like, I don't find anyone ever says like, that let's say they're a businessman and their goal is like, I want that Ferrari, and then they get that Ferrari, and then now they're like, I'm set, I'm happy now for the rest of my life, for the next 50 years. That Ferrari has made me happy. When I go to bed every day, I will have happiness in my heart because I have that in the garage. I don't find like that's the case. As soon as you get that thing that you were pursuing, that feeling goes away really quick. And you find that emptiness again, and you need to continue to search. You know? Let
me tell you a story that's similar to that. So when I was a teenager, so I love history, and I really loved medieval music, all right? And medieval instruments and stuff. And the one instrument I've always wanted to play was the medieval bagpipe. There was a band it was really big in Germany and Europe, this like neo-medieval music where people played medieval music, these medieval bagpipes. I was obsessed with it. I listened to it all the time, and for 10 years I obsessed about getting these bagpipes. The reason I just didn't get them was they're really expensive, like 1,000 plus. Wow. They had to be handmade, so you'd order them in Germany and stuff. And like I said before, I didn't care. I was like, I just went to work, and then when I got paid, I spent all the money. I wasn't able to save.
Oh my God.
Because and then I got to a point where I was making enough money, and I eventually got them, right? And I learned how to play them. I went to events where it was called LARPing, where you dress up. Have you heard of it? Yeah.
Is this while you were a punk?
No, this is after that. So I went to these events and played the bagpipes during you know when you think of going to battle. So LARPing, for the people watching, LARPing is like playing a role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, but in real life. So you've got these swords that look real, you're wearing full armor, and you have battles. You've got like hit points. It's like a game. It's like airsoft, but with swords and shield. Yeah,
I do airsoft things sometimes.
Yeah. So it's like similar, that, but with sword and shield and bow and arrows and stuff. But I used to be at the front of the battle line as we marched into battle with the bagpipes and stuff like that. And it was, but once I got them and I learned that, I was, whatever.
That feeling
it's gone. And it was, and that obsession, that feeling I had, that I opened the bagpipes first. I was like, oh, this is amazing, and so on. Like, don't play them anymore now. Brilliant.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, that's an example of that. We're chasing highs. We're chasing like endorphin highs with these sort of things, and they don't mean anything.
That's how just in the same topic, how these video games work. The video game that I was playing, you would just have like a goal. You'd be like, okay, me and you, we're gonna work together, and we're gonna like go to battle. And we're gonna do so well that we're gonna achieve this.
Yeah.
And once we achieve this, we'll be happy. And you spend 6 months of your life to achieve that, and it gives you a title. And you're like, yes, I finally got it. And then the same day, you'll be like, okay, so we need to go to the next one.
Yeah,
like
and then they'll bring out an update.
Yeah, you want, and
stuff.
they just you
Daily
just never
quests.
end, because you never feel satisfied. Whenever you go to bed at night and you're on your own with your own thoughts, you realize like that didn't really make me happy.
Yeah.
I'm just drowning myself, you know, to try and just get by.
So when did Islam pop up then?
So basically, I moved to Manchester, and at this point, like, I do not care about my life.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm ready to die anytime, you know.
Oh wow.
I don't even think my family knew this, and I was so like vulnerable at that point, and I got moved into like a student accommodation. So vulnerable to influence, you know, in a negative way. So what happened is I moved in with this guy, and like there was 4 of us, 2 girls and 2 guys, including me. But when I moved in, it was early, so it was just this other guy. He was called Cameron, and basically, so he's a British white guy as well. And he was like drinking the beer. Like he'd been there for like a month, and he'd been just drinking and, you know, smoking and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, me and this guy are gonna be friends, you know. And alhamdulillah, like I met this guy because everybody else was doing cocaine and ecstasy and pills, and that was their life. Like we're uni students, this is what we're gonna do. And this guy was like, he drank alcohol and he smoked weed, and he kind of like just said to me like, listen, don't ever do any more than that, trust me, you know. And I kind of like listened to him a bit, you know, but he really helped me, because if I'd gone into like a dorm with people who were partying and just offering me stuff, I was willing to take anything. I probably wouldn't have injected something, because that's scary. But like people at that point, like they would be like, oh, do you want to try some cocaine? I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, if everyone else is doing it and they seem fine, you know.
Well, that's now I'm a uni student. That's my purpose, is it not? Like I'm now free. I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to pursue my happiness, and I'm just going to go and do what they advertise on the TV, like party and drink and have time with with girls, and that's like, going to make you happy. It's
like university is meant to be to study and learn, and the first thing that happens when you get there is they give you all the leaflets for the parties and that like cheap entry here, and it's like this weird culture of just like you're here now, so just might as well get drunk and party. What's it? Yeah.
So basically, me and him spent about 3 months together, and he was like my only like main friend. And so I knew loads of other people, and we would go out, and I was obviously going to like my course and stuff like that. I met people there, and one day like I was sat with this guy Cameron, and he just randomly, like out of the blue, was like, what do you think is the purpose of life? And I was like, what are you on about? And he's like, what do you think? Like, tell me what you think. And I was just like, mate, we know. Like we know that we came here from this big bang, we evolved from animals, and there is no purpose of life. We just randomly came here. We have no purpose. We're gonna live here for a period of time. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna rot in the ground. That's it. There's nothing more than that, and you know that. And he was like, and he turned to me and he was like, I think Islam is the true religion.
No way.
And I was like,
oh wow.
I was like, are you stupid? You know, I was laughing at him. I was just like, seriously, like, I don't even know what Islam is. Really, like I've met Muslims, but I have not a clue what Islam is.
As an atheist, you normally you experience Christianity and then you put all the religions in one same
Islam
bundle.
is like, you know, for all I know, they worship 1,000 gods, you know, with the blue arms and all that. I know that's not Islam, but like, you know.
Back then you thought that.
That's just this false hope, you know. And I was just laughing at him, and you know, it's just like you're an idiot. And he was just like, well, like listen, like if you want, like if you're a bit interested, like just let me show, because I'm not sure really, but I think I've come across some interesting stuff. So he was like, let me just show you. Give me like an hour, 2, 3, you know. Let me just show you what I've come across. And if you're not interested after that, like we'll never talk about it again. So then like. He started showing me stuff that he had come across, and like I've never heard of this concept of Tawheed, and even the scientific stuff that, you know, like I'm not exactly like
back in the day that was the Dawa go-to, wasn't it? The
you know, but even how like not necessarily like we believe Islam is complete science necessarily, like everything that science says is Islam, you know. It's not necessarily that, but like, you know, there's things like in the Bible where you're like that. From my understanding, that's not how science understands things. Whereas things in the Quran, seemed to not necessarily be contradicting to that. And they were showing, you know, I was coming across videos like that. And then I came across like the concept of actual monotheism. And I came up, and then he should like the concept of Jesus, peace be upon him, just like being a prophet. And like that actually hit me, because I felt like really when I was a kid, that's what I believed. Like everything else they were teaching me, like in my heart, didn't make sense. So that really that was like, oh, like why didn't somebody just tell me that before? You know, like why didn't somebody just tell me that Jesus, peace be upon him, was a prophet? Because I believe he existed. And if I wanted to follow Christianity, I wanted to follow what he did. I want to follow his way. I don't want to follow what somebody who didn't even know him said that he did. They've got no evidence that he even said that. They can't even quote him, you know? And I started looking in like understanding like the Quran has been preserved and how that's completely different to anything else. That there's no other book on the planet that has been preserved in the same way, including like hadith and stuff like that. And I started looking into that, like with him. Like it was like we would wake up and we'd be like, let's go and research this, you know?
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I didn't speak to a single Muslim. And then I remember turning to him, I was like, mate, we need to become Muslim. And he was just like, what? Wow. Like, I don't think that he was actually even really, I don't know, I'd have to ask him obviously, but I don't know if he was even like really ready to do that.
Yeah.
Or if he was thinking like, yeah, I'm certain. But I come to a point where I was just like, this makes sense to me.
Yeah,
like this,
you're convinced.
This is not complicated. This is simple. It makes sense. Logically to me, it makes sense. I get it. And they've got their preserved book. If I want to follow his way, the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the way of Jesus, like I can pursue that, you know? And the concept of right and wrong now makes sense. And the purpose of life now makes sense to me. Like that answers my questions that were just a hole, like a black hole before. I was just like, so how do we do that? I accepted Islam. I didn't know about prayer. I didn't know about fasting. I didn't know about Hajj. Like I didn't know anything apart from monotheism and the Quran and what they believe about Jesus. Peace be upon him.
Oh, wow.
And so my friend and I was like, we were now and then like smoking weed. And we lived in a Somalian area. And obviously like Somalian, a lot of them are Muslims. And one of the guys who like worked for these drug dealers was like a white guy. And for some reason, like my friends started having this Islamic conversation with the guy who was selling us weed. And he was like, well, you know, there's like a mosque like right there, just like down the road. It's over there. If you want to become Muslim, go. And so he directed us to the mosque.
No, the guy selling weed.
Yeah. And subhanAllah, like, so I then needed to go visit my family for Christmas.
Yeah.
So my friend Cameron went and took his shahada.
Oh wow, mashallah.
And I was like, when I get back, I'm taking my shahada.
Yeah,
like, nothing's stopping me. I'm not going to tell anyone, but I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And actually, the guy who was selling us weed, after that, we talked about Islam with him, and he became Muslim as well.
Oh, mashallah.
So all three of us become Muslim from that situation. It's so
strange.
Awesome
Story, bro. That's a wicked.
I don't know what happened to him, like, or where he is in life now, but yeah, like we all accepted Islam. 3 British guys from
awesome.
That situation, which is really strange. But like, so I came back and I was like, right, what do I do? He's like, he's like, they pray on Friday. Like, you know how we go to church? Yeah, I was like, they go, so we'll go then. And I think he took me like on Jummah. And bro, like I went in there and I was like, yeah, I want to become Muslim. I don't know what Shahada was. I don't know how you become Muslim, you know? And there's like a masjid full, like to me, like hundreds of people there. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. You know, even though I'm a very, very shy person, you know, like I spent like a lot of time just on my own because I'm like an only child from my parents.
A bit of an introvert.
Yeah, like a massive, like I was extremely shy. And, but I was like, I know, like I want to do this. And then after the prayer, like they brought me in front of like all these people.
Oh no.
And it helped because my friend had already done it. But I remember sitting down with the sheikh, mashallah, like this amazing, like, you know, he's a very old man. And he's leading the prayer and he's memorized the Quran and he's a very brilliant man, mashallah. And then someone translated, like, this is what you're going to say. And then once you say that, you're going to become Muslim. And yeah, so I did that and I became Muslim. And then like, it felt like every single person in the masjid like lined up and they all came and gave me a hug, like one after one after one after one.
How did you feel about that?
That was really like, a memorable
Yeah.
thing. Like, it's just weird because like all these, and I grew up in Africa where there is like segregation in a way, you know, like white and black. But now I come to like a Somalian masjid and there's hardly any white people there, like maybe 3 out of these 100 people, maybe, you know. And they're all like, we're all the same. And I was just like, wow, like I'm not used to that where I grew up. Where I grew up, that's not how the situation was, you know. And like that's kind of like why I would, if possible, like encourage someone who wants to take their shahada to go and do it because people do it at home, you know, like just on their own. But it's nowhere near that. The community doesn't see you do that.
I think it definitely is good to, even if like you take your shahada with someone because you need to do it quickly because you're convinced, but if going to the masjid and kind of doing what you did, you've linked yourself to a community straight away. How was that with you? Did anyone look after you? Or?
Well, that's where like things were not that great, you know.
No,
So I become Muslim, and I'm like, and now I'm done. I've accepted Islam, and I'm a Muslim. And my only understanding is that we don't, like my friend's telling me we don't drink anymore. I was like, okay, fine. I hated drinking. Like drinking never led me anywhere good. I nearly died once, like just before I become Muslim. I drank so much, like I woke up the next morning and I look like in the mirror and like I'm covered in like this brown stuff. And I went to my room and I found out like I passed out and I threw up all over the wall.
Wow.
People die like that, you know? And that was like a wake-up call in a way to be like, what am I doing? Like imagine if I died. I remember drinking so much that I was like continuously throwing up. And even though I'm so drunk that I'm at that point, there's a voice in my head just like, what are you doing? You know? Anyway, so I was like, we don't eat pork, we don't drink, and we go to the Friday prayer. So me and him would go to the Friday prayer. And we were like, well, we don't know what he's talking about. So anyway, we'd just get the English Quran and we'd just sit there in the corner and we'd just read it.
Cool.
And no one said anything to us for like 4 months. And then my friend came home one day with these two guys who are a bit older than us. And mashallah, they're good guys, and they, you know, nobody's necessarily perfect, and you know, everyone's on their own path, but they helped me like a lot. And this guy said to us, like, he was like, oh, it's time for like Maghrib, so where should we pray? And I'm just like, what? I've been Muslim for like 4 or 5 months now.
Wow, subhanallah.
And he's just like, yeah, what do you mean what? And I'm just like, yeah, what are you talking about? You know? And he's like, yeah, like we pray, right? I was like, yeah, like on Friday we go and we do the prayer, and like Christians go on Sunday, right? And he's just like, no, like we pray like 5 times a day or more. Just like, what? And he's like,
did you seriously not know about that when looking into Islam?
I didn't know about wudu. No, I researched like tawheed. You know? I didn't research more than
the belief.
Like I said, I thought it's like Christianity. Like you accept it, you know. And then I go to my Sunday prayers. You know, go to church. You know, just mix with the community. Like I read some Quran and stuff. That's it. You know, no more is required. And yeah, he was like, I was. At that point, like this guy, mashallah, really helped me because he was a revert himself, and he'd been Muslim for like, he's like a half black, half Spanish guy. So and he'd been Muslim for like 10 years or so at that point. But he was like, listen, and he helped me with like my aqidah, you know, like my understanding of like who it is that we follow and why we don't follow certain other ways that Muslims follow, you know. So he told me like prayer, and he told me about like tawheed and aqidah and stuff like that, and he gave me like some real guidance, like, you know, listen to this guy, go read this book, come with me. And he benefited me because he was one of those people, like, this is not always the best approach, but he was one of those like, no, I'm coming around tomorrow and you're gonna pray with me 5 times.
That's
and
cool.
But I was the kind of person I was like, okay, I've accepted this. I want this, you know. I'm down for that. Yeah, fine, let's do it. And yeah, mashallah, like he even introduced me to like reading letters and stuff like that about a year later, which then led me to be able to like read and stuff like that. He didn't necessarily teach me everything about reading, but he did give me a book, and he was like, this is help yourself to learn, help yourself to read Quran and stuff like that. And he got me like started, and if I didn't meet that guy, I don't know what would have happened. Like, I don't know where I would have been or how, or what my understanding of Islam would actually have been.
I'm really happy that you had that mentor when you were you first started, because a lot of reverts slip away from the Deen, or just get completely, like, they either go stagnant or then kind of get misguided because they haven't got that someone to kind of help them through it. Because when you've accepted it and you're kind of doing the basics, there's so much information that some people are just not ready for, and having a focus of what's first. I mean, there's a hadith, right? And I'm going to paraphrase it. I was going to take a drink then, but I'm going to paraphrase it. So when the Prophet, peace upon him, sent a companion to go to Yemen to teach the people about Islam, give dawah, and to support the new Muslims that accepted Islam. And this is the advice the Prophet, peace upon him, gave to this companion to how to guide these new Muslims. First, give them the Shahada. So teach them Tawheed and they accept Islam, okay? Then teach them how to pray. And when they pray consistently, then teach them fasting, then teach them zakat, then teach them hajj. So it's not like reverts, converts, we're not expected to be super Muslim next day and do everything. Some born Muslims think that you have to do that when you become Muslim. You see it in YouTube comments and things like that, and TikTok comments where, cover your hair straight away when you become a Muslim, to a sister and things. It happened at the park. We were doing dawah at Speaker's Corner. This lady, this English lady, like she looked like she was in her 40s, maybe 50s, took her shahada. This guy, I don't know where he was from, but he had a really thick accent, shaved face, right? And then he said to Hamza, the person I was with, tell her to cover up then. And it was like, what? And he was like, no, definitely not. And he was like, well, she has to cover. And it's like, what you on about? But anyway, my point is that the sunnah of the Prophet, peace upon him, the way we're meant to learn is step by step. And the companions did it that way when they were given the revelation slowly, and the advice to giving dawah and to supporting new Muslims is slowly does it. Like, Rome isn't built in a day, a flower doesn't grow in a day, you know. So and that's really important, I think.
I do feel the difficulty though, because like you almost, I've been in the reverse role where I've come across someone who's just become Muslim. Like I used to go to this like martial arts gym with these two guys. Long story short, one of them, this guy called Phil, he became Muslim. And I was just like, okay, this guy doesn't have anyone else to help him. Like, I need to help him. But you almost feel like what you've learned over the last 5 years, that's taken you 5 years to get to where you are. You almost feel like you need to give that to someone in an hour.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
You know, but it's like, because you almost feel like, because if I don't ever see this guy again, like, I don't know how, you know, he needs this information, you know, that's how you feel, I guess. So, and what happened with him is like, he started coming to my house, and I was showing him certain videos and stuff like that, just trying to, you know, help him with prayer and things like that. And Aqidah, like, you know, where do we take our information from, and what, you know, how do we understand this religion? Who do we take our information, which scholars do we try to follow, you know? And what things to avoid. You know, like when you see certain, because what I found when it comes to Islam is there's loads of information online, but like where to go in that information, it can be very confusing, it can be very misleading. And some people, you know, by the will of Allah, for whatever reason, like they go down a path that, you know, is not necessarily the way that the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions understood the religion. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, so I'm sitting with this guy, and then he's like, oh, he lives in Thailand, he's really ill, and I'm gonna go and look after him. And then I didn't see that guy after that. So, you know, I said goodbye to him and stuff, but he was really new to Islam. Like, I don't know how much, like maybe 3 months, you know, from my memory. He's really new, and I never saw that guy again. So I don't know what happened to him. That worried me, you know? Yeah. It happened to me one more time, and then my friend Cameron, who kind of brought me to Islam, he called me like this is before I made a YouTube channel. This is like why I made a YouTube channel, because this started happening to me multiple times. And then he was like, listen, I've been speaking to this guy online. He's an American guy. He's a white guy. He wants to become Muslim. Should we take his shahada? And he gave him doubt. And then I was like, yeah. So I go and we give him shahada, and it's like, okay, what do we tell this guy? Like, this guy just took his shahada. What do we do? And what happened is, after he did that, like, he was sincere about it, but for whatever reason, like, we lost contact with this guy altogether. Like, he stopped responding to messages, and I was just like, I have no idea what happened to this guy. Like, and I'm afraid because, you know, if I didn't get a good mentor, I know I would have become very confused as to what I'm supposed to do. So I then was, and he was telling me, like, the nearest mosque is like 80 miles from me.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think I came across someone else who's like 100+ miles in America. Like, I don't know any Muslims. I'm the only one who's a Muslim. I just became Muslim, and there's no masjid around me. So that made me like think like, okay, I'm not a scholar, but I do have some certain advice to so that's what made me like make a YouTube channel, because I sat down and I thought, I don't want to be like a scholar or a teacher, but what I would like to do is an online form of being like, hey, you're new to Islam, you need to know about this.
Yeah.
And maybe you could read this book about it. Yeah. You know, or you could watch like this video which explains how to do it in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And also my idea was also to kind of find good videos about Islam, but kind of make them for someone who's just English. Because what I found is like you come across brilliant videos, but they're catered for Muslim people who know what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam means, you know, and stuff like that. Like, when I become Muslim, like, you hear videos like that, it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So my idea was also to like
basically jargon, like Arabized words that just like go over your head. Yeah.
So my idea was kind of like to load up videos and like watch them and like pause and be like, so what he means when he says this, and then put it in English. Even though it's something simple, you know, if even something like saying the Sahaba, you could just be like pausing, like, okay, so the Sahaba were these people. And that's what that means. Anyway,
that's really good.
That was kind of like my idea, and I thought I'll do like some Quran recitation and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's really cool, man. Mashallah. So we've in your journey, we're like, I think it sounds like we're about 6 months in roughly. You've got this mentor, you started to learn. What happened then? Was it all smooth going? Was there some struggles that you had?
I had it easy in a way because I was in Manchester on my own. So alhamdulillah, like, I didn't live with, like, because I feel like when you live with your family, that's sometimes a lot more complicated. But when you're on your own and nobody knows you, nobody's there to say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I could just be under the radar, you know, and I pray and I go and I do my stuff and I'm starting to learn. And that in that way, like, it was easy for me because I was also in a somewhat Muslim community. All the food there is halal. You know, it's not hard to find halal food. I don't have that struggle. If I wear a thobe, no one's there like really questioning me, even though I feel self-conscious, like, especially as a white person, like, go into a masjid full of like people, I feel like everyone's looking at me.
I felt
that was really hard. Like, and I also felt like I have to dress like this. So we would be wearing like, I really wish I didn't have a good phone then, but like I had like a Nokia or something. I really wish I'd taken pictures and stuff of that time of my life, because I would laugh like a lot. Because like the way I used to dress and like the things I used to do, I just thought that's what you have to do.
You
know,
you're kind of mimicking the other Muslims. That way,
but I also had to tell my parents at some point.
That's the big time. Like, when did you do that?
So I told my mom pretty early on, because I had that kind of relationship with her.
Cool.
And she, bearing in mind this is like 2010, so she thought like, she's like, this guy is being like groomed for terrorism.
Oh, really?
As in, like, she, not in a very bad way, but I could tell like she's worried. Like, he's just gone off to Manchester, and like in a few months he's decided to just flip his life upside down and become a Muslim. He's really serious about it as well, you know. And so she was worried, but alhamdulillah, like, over time, you know, we don't really discuss religion that much, but I do try my best to like show through my actions what this religion is about. And I'm very careful about like being like, come on mom, let's sit down and we're going to debate now. I'm going to prove your religion wrong, like right now, you know. Like, I don't really like, I don't really like that approach.
It's no adab in that, and that's not what a Muslim should do, to be honest.
So I would really like if I tried my best to show her my way of life and how it's helped me, and how my manners are better, and how I care more about my parents, and I'm more polite, and I stopped doing these bad things.
Yeah.
And
sneak in a belief here and there.
Yeah, you know, like alhamdulillah, like she'll come around my house, like I'll play Quran, like I'll pray in front of her. She's fine with all that, you know. And even if I tell her like I'm thinking of like helping new Muslims and stuff like that, she's like, yeah, that's really good.
Awesome.
So she's really supportive. But with my dad, because I don't have like a very close relationship, I've not lived with him since I was a baby. Like I had to tell him at some point. I was just planning on, because he lives in Africa. I was planning like when he comes 1 year or 2 years from now, I'll sit down with him and I'll tell him. And actually, like he had a daughter who's like my stepsister, and she was older than me. So at the time she was about 23, and she had like a very difficult life, and she actually ended up like committing suicide.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, SubhanAllah. It was very sad, you know. But he then called me up and he's like telling me this stuff, and I'm very upset. And then he's like, so he doesn't know I'm a Muslim, but he's like, yeah, so he's like kind of along the Buddhism lines. You know, he was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, and then he's come.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like from my recollection, he had like a very angry personality, and then he came across Buddhism and it like kind of calmed him down. So it was kind of good for him in that way. And he was like, so anyway, so we're going to cremate your sister. And I was there like, oh, I was like, what? So he doesn't know that I'm a Muslim, but like I had to sit and I had to think like, I feel like I have to say something. I have to at least tell him that I don't want that to happen. Yeah. I feel bad if I don't, you know? So I sat down and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Because the last thing he needs now is like me to just be like, oh, I'm sorry that your daughter passed away, but surprise, I'm a Muslim. Yeah. You know, like he doesn't need that. So, but
not on top of that, surprise, I'm a Muslim, and please don't do what you want, you're thinking of doing.
Please don't do what you believe is right, you know?
Yeah.
So I came across like a little article which just describes what Islam thinks or says about like how we deal with the dead bodies when people pass away and how we should respect them. And I just copied that, and I just said, I think I called him and I just like, listen, Dad, like, I know you don't need this in your life right now, but I've come across Islam and I've accepted Islam, and what you're planning to do, like, I'm not really feeling that comfortable with it. So I've sent you like a little article, just at least have a read of it. You know, so that's what I did, and I'm pretty sure he went ahead with his plan anyway. But I just felt like so that's how my dad found out, because I felt at that point like, I don't know, like this is my sister, you know. I don't know if I can just be quiet and just let this happen, at least without saying something. I don't even know if it even makes a difference, you know, but that's kind of like how I ended up telling him, which is not an ideal.
You get those things in life, those events in life where it's just go full out or not. Yeah. Where you've got Allah puts these things in your life where you've got, it's really hard. It's that push to do something. If that pressure wasn't there, you wouldn't have done. And like that nothing compared to what you did, but that's like happened to me as well, where I don't know if I told this on Rerouted before. Like my journey was, I became Muslim, and then in the middle of my journey I stopped practicing, and then I came back to the Deen and so on like that. And there was a moment where I was in really early at work, and I knew that I had to just become a Muslim again. I do believe this, but I need the ghusl, because I need a ghusl because I've lived so long not praying and doing it, you know. And I was at work, no one was at work, right? I went into the toilet, right, stripped off,
no,
and just with put the tap on, and I did the ghusl all over, just dripping wet, using my t-shirt to kind of damp me off, and bits of paper towel and stuff. And I was like, right, okay, I've done the ghusl, and now I've got to pray, because it's like, one, I want to pray to Allah to thank him, to guide me back to the path, and to repent for all the stuff I've been doing and why I went away, and I need to come back to the Deen. So yeah, and I literally, like, I put that really wet t-shirt in a bag and put my work shirt on instead. So and then I just prayed, and it started from there. And so but it's this weird feeling I had of this, like, this weight on my shoulders, like, oh God, like the realization for this many years I've been doing this and this, and I haven't been doing that and that, and Allah's shown me that I should get back on the Deen, and this is the correct path, and you should get on it. And it was like, and when would anyone do that, you know? And there's lots of things like that that's happened through my journey where I had to take it to the next step, and sometimes I found it too hard, so I put it off, head in the sand. Yeah. And Allah puts things in position in your life where you go, oh, I've got to tell him then. I've got to tell my dad. Or I've got to, I've got to have that conversation with my girlfriend / wife. Like, this is what I want to do. Or, I can't just stay here. And there's a really common thing, and this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, but there's a really common thing with reverts where they live their life half a Muslim. So they got one foot in their previous life and one foot in their Muslim life. And when they're not with their old friends and their previous friends that they had before they're Muslim and their family and stuff, they're down the masjid, they're full on the internet, alhamdulillah, and all, got a thobe on. And then, you coming down for Christmas, Ben? No, I can't. And then you go, yeah, Mum, I'm coming for Christmas. You go there and you're like, I'm going vegetarian now. Right, can we have a vegetarian like turkey roll thing? Yeah, cool. And then you're kind of just not living as Muslim. You've skipped Salah because there's no like awkward where you could sneak off because no one knows and you're sneaking. And you literally got one life as a non-Muslim and one life as a Muslim, and it's really dangerous. And there's this new breed of new Muslim at the moment where they're an internet Muslim. In their real life, they've taken their shahada because of dawah online. They've got maybe friends on Discord forums and TikTok and all that sort of stuff, WhatsApp. But in their real life, no one knows they're Muslim, and they're only Muslim online. And there's this weird divide where it's fine to be a non-Muslim here and a Muslim there. And the biggest advice I'd give any new Muslim is to get out of that half Muslim lifestyle, 1 foot in, 1 foot out lifestyle ASAP. Sorry, I told you it was going to be a tangent. I just had it on me. Because you'll never, and you always feel like a fraud. Because did you ever have that half like Muslim feel? Yeah. So
just when you were mentioning the shower, like it brought to mind, like I met this one revert guy who told me like he thought for a long time or a period of time that when you have the shower, it has to be that your whole body is submerged in water at the same time.
What?
So he would go in the shower and he would like fill the bath.
Yeah.
And he would make make sure that he submerged his whole body in the water. Oh wow. Like all in one go.
Why did he think that?
I don't know. Like it's just I just remember having like that brief conversation with one brother about that. But yeah, like I remember once like I'm in Manchester and like I don't drink and I don't eat pork and stuff like that. And then my family doesn't know. Like my mum knows, but she's not told anyone. Because I think I asked her, she's good like that, don't tell anyone. And then I come back to go and visit like some old school friends, and like they weren't really like friends, but I went through school with them, and like they're like, and then the person who's taking me is like, so we're going to the pub. And I'm like, I've not told anyone that I'm a Muslim. I'm like, I'm completely comfortable in Manchester, but like, okay, I'm like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah, it's like, it's weird, isn't it? And you got that feeling of like I lived, I'm comfortable in Manchester in this circle, and now I feel like a fraud, like an imposter.
Yeah.
And
so basically, like, I remember being in the pub and then be like, so they're all drinking on the table.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it?
And they're like, so what are you going to have? I'm like, I'm just going to have like a Coke.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like, I'll buy you something. Like, why not? Like, why not? Like, I know that you don't want to do it, but why? And I'm just like, I just don't want to do it, okay? And I feel like I'm very close to just being like, I'll just drink it. And another time, like one of my cousins was getting married, and none of my family knew that I was Muslim. So I'm invited to the wedding, and I come, and like all the food there, like when you go to a wedding, they put a plate of haram food in front of you. And I was like, I can't eat that, so what am I gonna do? And I'm like, I just tell everyone, like you said, like I'm vegetarian now. But then they ask you, why are you vegetarian? You're just like, you don't have a reason, because you're not, So I'm trying to like eat like just random potatoes and stuff like that,
a bit of lettuce.
And I'm like, I want to pray. And it was on like a big farmhouse, like wedding venue. So it's like, what am I gonna do? I can't just start praying. So like I remember like 3 times I like jumped over this fence. I was like, okay, I'm going away for a little while. Jumped over this fence, and I like went out into like a big tall grass field. And, like flattened all the grass out, and I put something down, and I was like, right, and I prayed out there like on my own. And that was me trying to like avoid telling my family. And since my family did find out, like I I do feel like there's a distance there. Like I don't feel like they don't accept me, and when I see them, they're open, you know, and they're like, oh, do you want us to cook you something halal? Or they'll do everything that they're
but
very
there's
good.
something missing that you
They're
used to
very
have.
good, but it's almost like I do feel separate from them. I don't feel necessarily that because we don't share the same religion, so I do feel almost separated in a way. Even from like my mum, like we're very close, but our belief system is not. It doesn't go hand in hand together.
Yeah.
We do believe like some distinctly different things.
Do you know what? That's a really good point actually. Like it's every revert has that where there's this weird hole missing. Like I've got a friend called Chris, and he said ever since I took my shahada, family are lovely about it. They're a bit weird about certain things that I do or whatever. It's fine, but everyone's cool. No one's horrible to me, but it's just not the same. There's no banter anymore. There's no. They're a bit awkward around. And when he told me that, it made me really sad because it's like, yeah, that happens, man. But there's this weird missing thing that you can't put your finger on, where it's kind of makes you the black sheep. There's nothing you can do. Like, I feel
the same when it comes to like I do see people like I still have all my old friends and stuff, and it's like, well, that's cool, you know, that's good, but there is almost like an hour limit. Because if I'm really taking this religion seriously, even if they know, but when I'm with them and they're now like, okay, let's drink, or okay, let's smoke, okay, let's talk about women in a certain way which is fine from an atheist perspective, or you know, just living their lives, it's normal. I'm not judging them, you know. Yeah. But for me, it's like I'm no longer comfortable with this, so it's like you're almost sat there.
There's that barrier now.
You can't partake in it. Same thing in the workplace, like. Because I used to be a manager in like a call center. So they would do stuff like, they would make me like, okay, it's Christmas now. Everyone has to have their bays decorated. We're going to do like competition for best decorated bay. And I'm just sat there like, what am I supposed to, I can't say no. It's my job. Like, how am I supposed to deal with this?
Yeah, you know? So I work in retail. I manage a retail store, and it's the same thing. And they even sent us Christmassy uniforms to wear.
Oh my God.
And it's like, well, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I don't have to do it, sort of thing. Now, maybe if I wore that and we did a few other things and put a tree up and all that sort of thing, maybe we would be more successful that month. But it's not worth it. So
what I did was I got to the point, like as a manager, like I've got like 15, 20 people on my team. I'd go to like someone with a strong character, and I'd be like, listen, I'm a Muslim. I don't celebrate this. Halloween, whatever it is, I don't celebrate this. They've given me this duty, right? That it's now your duty. Like it's nothing to do with me. If this doesn't happen, I'm happy. You know. But if you guys in your own group decide like this is what you're gonna do, it's nothing to do with me. And I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but that's how I ended up going about it. Because I was like, I'm not going to do this, but they are like, it is going to be a problem with my employer if my bay is the only bay that's just dead. And also it's like none of my team, most of them are not Muslim. So it's going to be like, why do we have to cater for this guy's religion?
Yeah, that's the worst bit, yeah.
So I would just be like, listen, you know, they want this bay to be decorated. I'm not doing it. It's not part of my religion, in the most respectful way that I can put that message across, and I'll just leave it there. And if they decided to do it, then they did it. If they didn't do it, I'll be like, well, speak to her or speak to him. You know,
I think I kind of empathise a bit why non-Muslims in England, I'm saying, because that's my culture, they don't understand why we don't do it. For example. Let's look back before we're Muslim and maybe our friends and families. If someone invited us to a bar mitzvah or whatever, we'd go, yeah, go on then. We'd just take part in it. We'll try different foods. And what do you do? Oh, we do this thing. Yeah, cool. let's go do this thing and that thing. And we would do it because we haven't got a foundation of there being a certain way of doing things. Like with Muslims, to take part in it, there's two reasons. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do a fatwa or anything. This is what I do and what I believe. There's two big reasons why I won't celebrate Christmas or Halloween or anything. The biggest one is that the Prophet peace be upon him said for the Ummah there's two Eids, and they're the two celebrations to have. And that's what I do. And the other one is that there's practices in these other celebrations that actually become haram to do those acts and so on like that. And it becomes a hard thing because my family, Christmas is the only time people get together as a family and make an effort and spend a day with each other. Otherwise, it's a bit here, me and my mum hang out, and like the sister and my mum, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But New Year's and Christmas was the thing that happened. So Christmas we go to this person's house, and then New Year's we go to this person's house. And I, for a long time, I still went. I didn't take part in things, and I'd have a vegetarian, like I said, like I'd have a vegetarian thing. But someone would be drinking wine on the table. There'll be pigs in blankets on the table, and like the idea you have to give presents and stuff. And then eventually I said, look, Mum, I'm just going to skip out Christmas, and what I'll do is, how about instead we still have that day, and why don't you come to mine for Eid, and it'll be cool because you'll get to know a bit about like what we do and things like that, because their moral like standing isn't that. If they come to an Eid party or whatever, that doesn't break their morals. But when we partake in other religious holidays and stuff, that's haram. It goes against our moral standing. But then when you go, well, I'm not coming to Christmas, but you come to Eid, and then there'll be a thing of, well, why do I have to come to Eid then? And it becomes a pride thing, you know. So it's hard with the Christmas thing, you know. Yeah, for me, celebration stuff.
It's difficult because, like, my family don't all live in the same town, you know. They live all over the place. So they're far more willing to drive to all one location in one time to meet to something, and they all believe, or they believe it, but maybe they don't, or they do, whatever, but they celebrate it. Family time, giving gifts, all this kind of stuff, you know. It's a nice time. We eat some, and they're far less likely for me to be like, yeah, but anyway, I'm not coming to that, but I'll invite you all to my place. Yeah. But they're like, no, we live like 6 hours away from you. We're not going to drive all that way just to do something because of your weird belief. You know? Yeah. So it's definitely like a tricky one. It is hard,
and I empathise in their position as well. And that's what makes it hard as a new Muslim to make those decisions, because you get what they, you know, you can empathise with their position. They see it as I'm the picky one. You're the picky one. You'll go, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, like it's something bad. But now you expect me to come and celebrate your thing, you know, and it becomes a thing like that. Alhamdulillah, it's not been a problem for me though. It's been a hard thing, and for me to it was a hard thing for me to pull up the guts to then just chop it off, if you know what I mean. Because I was doing this semi-Christmas thing where I'd spend time, but I would still pray and everything. I wouldn't take part in anything haram, but I would still get together with the family. I'll just try another day, inshallah.
I think definitely there's a big struggle if you do have to keep your Islam like secret, but you do live immediately with people who, you know, like with your parents, and you know that this is gonna be a problem. And I feel like that's a much bigger challenge than what I had to go through. And also I feel like for sisters, it's way, like me, I can just dress like this, you know, and no one necessarily is like, that's a Muslim. Yeah, exactly. You know, like if you wear all the Muslim clothing, if you choose to do that, people will be like, most likely people will be like, oh, that's a Muslim. But as a sister, your challenge is much bigger, especially if you're at home with a family that doesn't accept you, and now you want to start, you know, dressing in a certain way, and you want to start adopting this way of life. I can imagine that's something that you need support with, I would imagine. Like that's not going to be that easy, because I definitely, like, wearing a thobe in public, or even, you know, trying to grow my beard or anything like that, I felt really self-conscious about that. So like, but that doesn't always necessarily just point you out in the middle of a crowd. Whereas like a white person or person from a different culture who puts on a scarf or covers their face and wears like a long dress, especially if they work in, like, for example, like an office where everybody knows them and they know what they used to be like. And like, that's going to draw so much attention to you. So I don't know how much advice there is out there for that kind of stuff, but I definitely think that's a struggle for them.
I think that's why it's cool for reverts to talk to each other, and why this thing is awesome, what we're doing now, because we all go through it. and we all go through very similar things, and certain people go through certain things a lot stronger than others, and we can come together and give each other advice. That's why one of the best support wise thing that I had was a group, like a messenger group of reverts, and there was mentors within that group that helped out if we had questions, and if they didn't know, they would go and ask a scholar, come back, and so on like that. And there was a time where I was like, well, okay, so I'm going to my mum's on Christmas, like I'm not celebrating it. I've got to that point where they all know I'm Muslim and everything, but like there's things like, can I eat the Christmas pudding because there's brandy in it? But you know, what's the rules? Because you don't get drunk, and there's that rule of, if you drink and everything like that. So you know, when you get to that stage where you're you're praying 5 times a day, you fasted Ramadan, you kind of know about the Deen a bit, but then it becomes the little ficky bits, you know, and that come up, and that can help. Also, being around loads of having mentors and being around other reverts grounds you, so you don't go off and Muslims become super Muslim, where I know everything. All right, that's haram. What is that guy doing? Well, he's got a Christmas tree in his kebab shop. Are you praying Fajr, mate? No. Why are you telling everyone else to do this, do that? You're not even praying Fajr. You get that, like, feel it, like a lot of people go through that, and being in a group of other people to kind of ground each other and you know, and be there for each other there, that really helped me, man. What sort of support did you have other than that mentor at the beginning? You know, you talked about that guy that set you off with Aqidah and proper belief and so on. Was he continuously your mentor through it, or?
I've known him the whole time since then. But
and if you're watching, you're a legend.
Yeah, mashallah. But I do also feel like you know, at some stage, like I was, it does come down to, like, no one can put you have to make your own dedication towards this now. And I also went through this stage that you're talking about, where you're like, you start to learn a little bit, and you start to be like, look at the way he's dressed, you know, and you start to almost come to a stage where you're like, that guy's not even a Muslim.
It's shaitan proper.
You know, who are you to? So I guess my advice would be, like, when it comes to family and even what we're about to talk about, I think that it's very important to have patience and understand, like, you're being tested, and be aware that you're going to be tested. And I feel like this has helped me in my life, because let's say you're going to university and you care about this course, like you chose it, you want to do it, you care about, you have passion for it, and the teacher and the lecturer comes and tells you, listen, the exam is not at the end of the year. You don't know when the exam is going to be. You study the whole way, and at some point you're going to come in and you're going to have the exam and you're going to do it. If you prepared for that and you studied and you knew, like, one day this day is coming, I'm going to try my best to prepare for it, you're in a much better mental state when it comes to you and it's presented. You're like, okay, I've been preparing for this, you know. But if you just forgot and you just thought, like, it's going to be at the end of the year, and then it comes like a couple of weeks later, you're not ready. And I found it's the same when it comes to tests of patience, when it comes to, like, dealing with family who are really kicking off with you, or, you know, dealing with any kind of challenges that you come across. If you're aware that you are going to be tested, because you are going to be tested in loss of wealth, loss of family, your health is going to, you know, not always be perfect. And when you're tested with this kind of stuff, if you have an almost preparation and trust in Allah, like, sometimes you can always feel like, I recognize this. Like, this situation that I'm going through now is really hard, but I'm not just blindly like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know, like, I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to observe patience, and I need to hold on to my religion and turn back to Allah. And He's the only one who can get me out of this.
Yeah.
So I guess in those difficult situations, to practice patience, but also it's extremely important to continue learning, you know, because I think we've talked about it at some point. Like, what happens is sometimes you'll get the basics down, and I've met people like this, and probably even born Muslims go through the same thing, and I've been through the same thing. You get the basics down and you're like, right, well, that's me now. But then 5, 10, 15, 20 years goes by, and you realize that you're still really, your progression is still in year 1 Or really, like you've not really advanced in any way, which at the end of the day is you're practicing, you're fine, inshallah.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good to have like high aspirations, because in a way, like even if you're born Muslim or you are a revert, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you. You know, everybody is a Muslim and you've accepted this, right? So why have the lowest aspiration possible? Why not have like a high aspiration and think about how am I going to benefit myself? How am I going to get closer to Allah? How am I going to benefit my family? Because when you come to having like children and, you know, people who are close to you, even friends and stuff like that, if you don't practice your own religion and you don't understand your own religion and you don't have the answers for the questions, when your children grow up, if you can't put that into them, it's just going to be like, I'm just raised with it. I don't really believe it. You know, why would it be any different just because you tell them you must pray, you must pray, you must pray, but you don't understand really the wisdom of how to actually put that in their hearts, you know? So I think it would be my advice to myself, you know, is to try to continue to seek knowledge, and in a practical way. Like to give an example, like to say, I want to you have a long-term, like medium and short-term goal. You could be like, I want to memorize the Quran, inshallah.
Yeah.
That's a high aspiration. It's not something that everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And most people would already be defeated as soon as you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't do that. Well, what's the problem with having that goal? And if you have that high aspiration, that will help you put in practical steps, because you could be like, okay, my goal is to memorize the Quran. Maybe I've got 40 years. It's quite a long time.
Yeah.
In reality, if I let it go by, I won't get anywhere. If I don't have a goal, you know, I'm not just going to wake up tomorrow and have memorized it. But if I have a goal, 40 years, you know, maybe inshallah I will do it. Maybe even if I don't, maybe Allah will give me that reward, you know. But then like a medium term goal could be like, okay, so once a year, practically, if I wanted to achieve that, there's like 30 juz in the Quran. If I wanted to achieve it by 40, like I would probably need to like seek to do at least one juz a year. So then if you're going to do that, so like even break that down like weekly, daily. So realistically, like if I did 4 verses a day and I retained them, you know, and I put in a routine, maybe I could achieve that in a year. I could memorize 1 juz, you know. And then if I just continued that for 40 years, maybe I could memorize the Quran.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having a high aspiration like that and pursuing the pleasure of Allah in that way.
Exactly.
So yeah, did you have anything you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I've actually gone through that where you feel stagnant.
Yeah.
Where you like, because when you're a new Muslim, or you're a new Muslim, or even a year on, the basics of Islam is a struggle to get on. Like that, and even born Muslims now, they're struggling to pray 5 times a day. And that's like the bare minimum. After taking your shahada, after believing in it, the next thing you have to do is pray 5 times a day, like pray the salah that's fard on you. And people struggle with that, and you get this like, and you get there and you're like, oh cool. And now it's not only is it it was a struggle getting there, and it's a struggle keeping it, but eventually it becomes easy, because it becomes your routine, your part of your life. When you're planning your day, you're playing your salah, and then Ramadan comes along, right, cool, I struggled this month, or I'm getting better, and then you're doing the basics of a Muslim, okay, and it's all good. And you feel like you become stagnant. And there's also the Iman wave, where, my iman's high. Oh, wow, you're right, I'm going to do this while I'm watching Hoblos all day. You know, I'm learning Arabic. Right, Alif, Ba, Ta. Week later, iman's low. And do you know what this is? I believe this is from our Jahiliyyah times, our before Islam times, where we would do things with waves of endorphins, and do things on whims like that. We'd do things as we please, especially as atheists, where our desires are as our kings, as our lords. Yeah. And it's still, we still have that bad baggage. People say, reverts, they don't have they have baggage. They're brilliant. We've got loads of baggage, mate. We've got loads of cultural baggage. Yeah, and it comes from this like secular liberalism, and this idea of pursuing happiness as long as you don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
And we bring that into the religion, and I've done that. Loads of new Muslims do that, where they go way and then whoa, with and what Allah loves the most is consistent worship.
Yeah,
and it's better to give a penny a day in charity than it is once to give how many days in a year? 300 and odd a day, pound, £3 something in one go. You know, it's a consistent routine. So from my experience, and I've got I do it all the time. And it's fine. I've accepted I do that, and I'm trying to get better each time. But I'll get to a plateau. I'll learn. I'll implement that new thing in my life, and it'll plateau. And then and you're right. Having a big goal keeps you going forward.
You need a reason, because you know it's the same thing with like wanting to run a marathon. You know. If you need a reason to want to do that. It's a hard thing to achieve. It's a big aspiration to be able to run a marathon all the way, you know. But you need a reason to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and go out in the rain and the snow and force you, because nobody wants to do that. You know, sometimes these things are difficult. Like I'm trying to learn certain things. I'm hoping, inshallah, in a certain period of time, like I can know the Arabic language so I can understand the Quran, you know. That's a high aspiration. It's not easy. You have days of like, I could spend 12 hours a day just doing this. And then the next day it's like, I don't even want to think about it. Yeah. You need a reason to remain consistent, you know. But I've definitely been through that. I heard one brother, I don't know if this is necessarily a quote from our hadith. I don't think it's a hadith. It's just a nice quote that I heard. And he put something which made me, it like really resonated with me. He goes that knowledge is in 4 stages. And he goes, the first stage is when someone starts to become spiritual. And they start to practice a bit. Maybe they weren't practicing before, Riva or not, you know. And or they start to read like some basic books, and they start to watch some reminders. And all of a sudden, like they start praying, and all of a sudden they're like, and I've definitely been through this, of being like, they actually think that they have knowledge. And I think it's important to like humble yourself, you know, like it's a good thing what you're doing, and continue, inshallah, but you must get to the next stage. Because if you stay at that stage, it's almost like you could fall into ignorance and think that you know what's right, and maybe you don't. It's very important that you humble yourself. It's what we're doing is good, you know. We've been through a huge journey, and we've come to this point where we've come across knowledge, beneficial knowledge. It's very important to humble yourself and keep sincere and keep your intention right, and learn what are the etiquettes of seeking knowledge, right? And with that, I think that what he said in stage 2 is you realize actually what I have is not that much. Like maybe I've memorized the 3 Quls and Surah Fatiha, but there's someone out there who's memorized the entire thing and more. You know, what you have compared to him is very little. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think
in this day and age where you can research everything, and you go on sunnah.com and look at
now you
read one hadith and now you're given a ruling.
Just firing a hadith like, oh, you can't disagree with me. Look, I have a hadith. You don't know how that works. You don't know the science behind it. You've not studied the
context behind it. Do you know what surprised me? And I learned this recently, and I can't remember the number of companions. The Prophet, peace upon him, only gave the authority out of all the thousands of companions there were. They gave the authority to give fiqh decisions, like actually give fatwas, right, to a handful of companions, right. But yet we, like us Muslims, give out fatwas left, right, and centre because we've read out one hadith and go, yeah, that's it, you know.
Sorry, we're gonna.
No, that's it. Yeah. Go on.
I heard a story, and I don't know. The lesson from the story is more important. I don't know how accurate the story is, but I heard a story about Imam Malik. You know, may Allah have mercy on him. So the story said that a guy came from like another country to ask him 40 questions. This is Imam Malik. You know, he's one of the main scholars of Islam. To ask him 40 questions, and he asked him 40 questions, and from the story that I heard, 36 questions, Imam Malik said, "I don't know. Allahu alam." Because he understands the importance of not giving an answer that you're not certain about. Yeah. And the guy said, "What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go back to my people and tell him that this great sheikh doesn't know?" He said, "Tell him that Imam Malik said, Allahu alam. I don't know. Like Allah knows, you know." And he answered 4 questions. That's the story I had. So that's an important lesson to kind of think about, because it's like, so if this guy is willing to be reserved and not be so arrogant to say, yeah, I know, you know, then, so what I was saying is like the stage 2 is to realize that what you're doing is good and continue, inshallah. But don't start to think, you have to move past stage 1. It's very important. And stage 2 is when you realize how little you have in terms of real and practical knowledge. And stage 3 is when, you know, or what the brother described as stage 3 is when you start to look at the people of true knowledge. As an example, the people who've memorized the Quran, the scholars of the Quran, who know every single letter inside out. They know the different qira'at. They know all the rules. They perfected this. They spent decades doing this, you know? And you start to appreciate what they've done compared to what you've done. And what you've done is nothing compared to that.
And then you realize that you had all this arrogance, but yet you didn't think you had that arrogance.
Yeah, so you should humble yourself. And he said that the final stage is like the stage that only like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the knowledge that only He has, and we will never reach that. But I really felt like that's so true. Like somebody told me, like, listen, you just gave out hadith and you're saying that this is the way it is. Do you know the science of hadith? Can you even read that in Arabic to me? Can you even translate it yourself to me? No. Do you even know when this hadith was revealed? Can you verify the chain? You know, do you know how to do that? It's like, no. Do you know, do you know if this was abrogated at a later time? No. So relax, you know, and be aware of just throwing things at people. Is very important to have wisdom, you know, and to have patience and to humble yourself, you know. And I found like that's something that's really important, along with having like these long-term goals. Yeah,
definitely. I think everyone struggles with the ego, and it's linked to that, isn't it? It's linked about me feel important and significant, that I know these things and I'm going to tell you. And it could have a foundation of a good intention, but that good intention gets corrupted by your ego.
Imagine if you were having a house built, you know, inshallah, may Allah give you enough and you're going to build your own house. And I come to you and I'm like, listen, I'm really interested in electrics. Like, I do want to be an electrician. I'm really interested in it. And I've been, for the last, 6 months, I've been watching loads of YouTube videos. Like, I've never actually installed a plug, but I've been watching loads of YouTube videos, and I've been reading forums like day and night. So anyway, I'll do the electrics for your house when it's built. I'll sort that out for you. I've never installed a plug in my life. Are you happy that I'll just install your electrics for you? Unlikely that you're going to say, yeah, no problem. I'm just going to trust this job, which is required for a professional, to this guy who's just been reading forums on how to wire a house. Same thing with like a mechanic, you know. If you broke your iPhone and I was just like, yeah, I'll fix it. I watched a YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
Or would you take it to a professional who knows how to actually do this? They're not going to mess it up and make something really bad because they had gaps in their knowledge. So I think that with that being said, it's not to say that you can't understand Islam yourself, but realize, like I'm talking to myself, realize where you are in the grand scheme of things. And if you want to be able to interpret like the Quran and read the Quran for yourself and draw meaning from it, you know, you can't just go on a couple of YouTube videos and a couple of forums and say, yeah, I now know what this is saying. This verse, which is not clear cut, it's open to interpretation, I'm going to start interpreting it. But if I go and I want to be an electrician, and I go and I study in university and I get practical knowledge and I start working under somebody and he starts teaching me and I become a professional, certified, tested person, you know, that's different. Then I can come to you. Like, so the same thing with Islam. Like if you have the highest aspiration and you want to do that, go and study, inshallah. You know, go, and if you want to go join a university, go and do that. And that's a really good thing to do. And especially if you're young and you have that belief and that iman, then what's to stop you from trying to pursue that path? Because inshallah, there will be a lot of reward in it and you could benefit so many people. And maybe Allah has chosen you for that reason. But instead of walking that path, maybe you just sat down and just let 10 years go by and you didn't really make any progress. So I'm talking to myself, really, you know? Yeah,
I say that to myself as well. I mean, I look back at 10 years ago and all that time that's been spent on all sorts of different things, and if I would have spent 15 minutes a day developing one skill, I could be, you know, the things that I could know now. So anyway, Mark, it's been awesome, and we're gonna have to end it there. It's I could talk to you for hours. This is the problem. We knew about this.
Long time.
We talked about before. We're like, right, what should we talk about? Because we could ramble on. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, bro. Jazakallah khair for coming on.
Welcome. Just move this out the way.
Yeah, just nice one. All right. So we talked about all sorts today. It's been really cool. I think what I like the most is that we talked about like kind of tips really for new Muslims. And we talked about learning the basics of Islam. We talked about like having a mentor and the importance of that. And this is for any born Muslims or established reverts that are out there, that how important the mentors are. So maybe you would want to become a mentor. So let me give you some information, because you could help other reverts, and the reverts watching, here's some help for you. So we do a free new Muslim course. Okay, it will set your foundations of just as we've been talking today. It will set your foundations, so where you can practice Islam and know the basics, and from there the root of knowledge is massive. You can go all sorts of directions. You'll be solid. There's another one for Muslims that want to give dawah, that want to tell non-Muslims about Islam, and there's a course also on how to mentor new Muslims, so like the best practices, and you can also sign up to become a mentor for new Muslims that have also asked for that help. So click the links below. We've got lots of different courses and lots of different help for everyone. Click the links below. And actually, before we go back, tell us a bit about your YouTube channel. I completely forgot, because we want to pop it in the description below.
Okay, I mean, like at the moment, you know, in light of what I've just said, like I thought, inshallah, I'm going to upload more, but I am just going to take a bit of time while I took my Quran recitation videos down, because I know, inshallah, if I actually do more and I study more, I can do better. So, but I'm really planning, the purpose of it is to hopefully do conversations like this and share people's knowledge who have been Muslim for 5, 10, 15 years, get their perspective and their long-term, you know, experience, and inshallah that will be beneficial. And also just doing information for people who are interested in Islam, people who are born Muslim, and you know, just straightforward important information, but it's kind of tailored towards reverts,
because we've had that experience, so I kind of want to give it out there. So that's awesome. So if you guys want to check out his channel, the link's down below also. Jazakallah khair for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.